Rain poured over the small roadside diner as thunder cracked in the distance. Inside, a man in a worn-out jacket sat quietly at the counter, his hands rough and scarred, his eyes tired but kind. Next to him sat a young waitress, frightened, trembling, cornered by two loud, drunken men who had refused to pay and were getting aggressive. The man, Jack, a single father, just wanted to finish his coffee and go home to his little girl. But when one of the men grabbed the waitress's wrist, everything inside Jack snapped. He stood up, his voice calm but firm. "Let her go." The diner went silent. The men laughed, mocking him until one of them threw a punch. What they didn't know was that Jack wasn't just another customer. He was a man who had lost everything once, and he wasn't about to let anyone else be hurt in front of him again. And from the corner booth, a man in a suit watched quietly, the CEO of a major corporation, who had no idea that the man defending that waitress would soon change his life forever. Jack Carter had once worn a suit himself, a construction project manager with dreams, a wife who laughed at his jokes, and a daughter who ran to him when he came home from work. But that was before the accident. 2 years ago, a scaffolding collapse at the construction site killed 3 workers and left Jack injured. Though he tried to save his team, the company blamed him, fired him, and blacklisted his name. He lost everything, his job, his home, and soon after, his wife, who couldn't handle the weight of poverty and grief. Now, he lived in a small rented room, barely affording his daughter Emma's school fees. He did odd jobs, fixing things around town, always keeping a smile for Emma even when his heart was breaking. That night, he had stopped by Mel's diner to grab something cheap to eat after finishing a plumbing repair. The waitress, Mia, was new, a single mom too, trying to make ends meet. She smiled politely as she poured his coffee. But when those 2 drunk men stumbled in, everything changed. They made crude comments, laughed loudly, and ignored her warnings. Jack stayed quiet until one of them grabbed her. In one swift move, Jack pulled the man back, twisting his arm behind his back and shoving him toward the exit. The other lunged, but Jack dodged easily, landing a firm punch that sent the man sprawling. The diner was dead silent. And from the corner, a tall man in a tailored suit, Daniel Reed, CEO of Reed Enterprises, watched with narrowed eyes. He had stopped there on a drive from the city after a long, lonely board meeting. He didn't expect to witness a fight or to see such raw courage. When the cops came, Mia explained what happened. Jack downplayed it, saying, "Just didn't like bullies." Daniel approached him afterward, impressed. "You handle yourself well," he said. Jack smiled tiredly. "Used to. Just trying to stay out of trouble these days." He paid for his meal and left, leaving Daniel watching him disappear into the rain. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Something about that man, the calm, the sadness, the way he stood up for a stranger, reminded him of something he'd lost too: decency in a world full of power plays and profit margins. The next morning, Jack returned to work fixing pipes in an old building under renovation. He didn't notice the black car that followed him there. Inside was Daniel Reed. After making a few quiet calls, Daniel had learned more about Jack. A once promising project manager, falsely accused, fired without cause. A man the company he used to work for had destroyed, a company Daniel had recently acquired. When Daniel saw Jack again, covered in grease, still smiling through the hardship, he stepped out of the car. "Mr. Carter," he said. "We've met before." Jack squinted, recognizing him. "The guy from the diner?" Daniel nodded. "I owe you thanks. But I think I owe you more than that." He handed Jack a file, a reinstatement offer. "Your name was unfairly tarnished. I looked into your case. You were the only one who tried to save those men. The company hid it. I can fix that." Jack's hands trembled as he opened the folder. A job offer. Salary. Position. Benefits. But, why me? Jack asked quietly. Daniel smiled. "Because I saw something I haven't seen in years. A man who stood up for what's right even when no one was watching." For the first time in years, Jack felt hope. He accepted the offer not just for himself, but for Emma. When he told his daughter that night, she hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. Does that mean we can have our own house again, Daddy? She whispered. He nodded, tears in his eyes. Yeah, baby. Maybe even one with a garden. Months passed. Jack worked hard, earning respect across the company. Daniel often visited the worksites, talking to workers, learning from Jack's grounded perspective. Together, they implemented new safety rules and fair pay. One day, during a press interview, Daniel was asked why he chose to hire Jack Carter. He smiled and said, "Because character is worth more than any degree or title. Sometimes, the people who've been through the worst make the best leaders." The video of that interview went viral, and when Mia, the waitress, saw it on her phone, she smiled with tears in her eyes. Sometimes, the heroes we overlook are the ones who've lost the most, but still choose to do what's right. Jack didn't fight for glory. He fought because he couldn't stand by and watch someone be hurt. And that one act of courage changed not just his life, but everyone around him. Do what's right even when no one's watching. Because someone, somewhere, might be watching after all.